All right. So a hot open mic has preceded this moment. And our feature tonight is Dan O'Connell, aka Dan O. He is a powerful voice of long-standing note, and this will be a very special presentation. He is a four-time award-winning poet, multiple finalist, and has many honorable mentions. His poems have appeared in over 100 places, including Mississippi Review, Homestead Review, America Magazine, Prometheus Dreaming, the Rye Whiskey Review, a CC Journal of the Arts and Letters, Dash Literary Journal, and Ghost Town Literary Magazine. Most recently, Dan O's Indictment Pantoum was included in the anti-Trump anthology Silence is Consent. He is the author of 3 full-length collections of poetry, Different Coasts, Theory of Salvation, and A Third Set of Teeth, as well as several chapbooks, including State of the Union and Sheltered in Place, Poems and Art, a collaboration. A former philosophy and rhetoric professor, he is an attorney representing tenants against landlords.
Divisadero thoughts. Divisadero Street in the early morning. Always a guy with some sort of club. Thick tree branch grabbed from a backyard. Metal rod of bed frame picked from a post-eviction junk pile. Carried like a rifle in present arms position. Sometimes the traditional baseball bat, tucked into filthy trousers like a cop's billy. Often it's the leg of a wooden chair that's been broken to pieces, the leg club still with screws poking out as splinters. One time I saw a guy wielding an orange traffic cone. Okay, not a club exactly, but close. It's hard to tell if they've been up all night, sliding into a self-absorbed frenzy, or just early risers marching to the Viz after waking up drunk. He's always outside a coffee shop, ranting, or else silent as the broomstick or golf club he's holding. Only glass between us. Sometimes the guy comes in swinging, and it's interesting to see how people react. Maybe a barista or patron calls the police, or a believer in de-escalation takes control. Usually people laughing, geez, what new drug is this guy on? Ha ha. Me, always talking to myself, man, I hope I don't wind up that crazy. Staring into space. The small moon rises slowly like a dilemma I was too stupid to recognize at first. The horizon of darkening trees undulates like the waves of a body in desire. The night sky here, outside the city's noisy halo, needs a new metaphor for light, or one borrowed from ancient times. Playground, guide, God's inverse sieve, or changing map that only the Chinese spotted. I've come to my old friend's rural spread to try to figure a few things out among the cow paths and cricketed grass and the true light of real darkness. But staring at the brilliant space, I get even more confused. And I can only stay here until Tuesday. A lot of my poems have epigraphs. This is a poem from one of my clients. And I appreciated Tommy's poem about his old client. Um, and this is from a chapbook of mine called The Eviction Papers. It has 3 epigraphs. A Room with a Key. A Room with a Key is the title. A woman must have money in a room of her own if she is to write fiction, Virginia Woolf, with key and lock, Alice Walker. And the city's most crime-ridden intersection, no surprise here, it's 6th and Mission. Heather Knight, a news reporter in the SF Gate newspaper for Elaine E. Heroin addicts saved from the needled streets of 6th and Mission with a room in the Henry Hotel at 6th and Mission, thanks to Mayor's Office Housing Initiative, spends all day on the needling streets of 6th and Mission, curled up like a magician's bent spoon. And thank you, and thanks to Dan for inviting me, Dan Brady for inviting me. Um, I'm just going to read a few more poems and then a long poem, and coming under 20 minutes, as I've timed it. Um, and then I'm going to squeeze in a music poem since that's the theme. So I have a new chapbook I'm working on. During the pandemic, I took up bird watching, which a lot of people did. Um, and the chapbook has photos in it, but I'm going to read a couple that don't really require the photo. But if you want to look up, this poem is basically well, it's a long metaphor, but it starts out with a epigraph from a field guide, and the title is "Hybrid at Spreckles Lake, Golden Gate Park." And if you're a bird watcher, you might know what a wood duck looks like, where you could look it up on Wikipedia. But the field guide says the wood duck is widely considered to be the most beautiful duck. And I agree with that. Seagulls, 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 herring, mew, California, western, glaucous winged gull, all indistinguishable without research. And crazy-footed coots, and Canada geese hiding chicks from red-tailed hawks under their wide black-white wings on clover-covered banks. And a trio of hooded mergansers, two fancy feathered males and one female, Amish-like. But today, also, there is a male wood duck courting a confused but interested lady mallard. Both birds all tight ripples and necks bobbing. One ripple. Their offspring will appear in field guides, nameless as a passing cloud. This next poem is from the Bird Book, um, called After Passing Through Industry Park. And this has three epigraphs from some ancient Chinese poets, which I think most of the people here might be familiar with. Um, After passing through Industry Park, you ask why I've settled in these emerald mountains. I smile, mind of itself perfectly idle, and say nothing. Lipo. I've grown quiet here, company to cranes, and so idle that I'm like any other cloud adrift. Po Chuai. And these are all Chang Dynasty poets. I wake from a noon nap, empty of thought, all idleness. Watch kids catch falling willow blossoms. Yang Wan Li. After passing through Industry Park, not the prettiest route, but the quickest, to a sea-fed lagoon between railroad and highway, where manufacturing grinds away inside, windowless buildings with grimy signs, Plexicon, Tool Tech, drill mechs over steel front doors like solitary cells. Unnamed streets littered with coffee cups and butts, like a gated community gone hopeless. Only one way in and same way out, except where the chain link fence is cut for a crawl to my muddy bank inlaid with concrete ruins where a body can sit and drink. Place of shallows and expanse, where high-heeled egrets hunt and mated mallards nest, where a small crew of pelicans survive, glide, and dive, where American coots perform a natural comedy, and a red-tailed hawk hovers above endlessly, and I sunnedly think, those Xian poets who write, "There's nothing on their mind," have something on their mind because they're writing about it. As a paddling of golden eyes float toward the poetic zone. It's weird reading on Zoom. I don't, but I'm glad to be here. I'm going to read a couple more. I'm going to read, I really just have one. My plan was to read one more poem. I'll explain that in a minute. Uh, but I'm going to squeeze in a short poem that is on the theme of music. So I will do that, and then I will have just one more uh, poem to read. And thanks for listening, and thanks again for Dan Brady for doing this whole thing. Um, the guitarist. So this is a poem that is on the theme, but well, I have to look it up, so I'm reading it from my phone. The guitarist. It's from my book, Theory of Salvation. The guitarist. The mother of six lives alone, calls in dreams for children softly. No answer, just the machine. She plays cards with other old women on Tuesday and Thursday, as if weekends must be left free for ghosts. In flower-heavy living rooms, the hands are dealt and coins carefully laid out like jewelry on a dresser, friends in coffins. What was it that she did wrong? Nothing. Her favorite girl has stood at the intersection of Main and Fifth for 15 years, like a statue of nobody. A statue with movable parts, legs that spread, arms that spin like loose propellers. A guitarist, a guitarist sets up at this same corner of passing suits and shopping carts. He places paisley cloth over a milk crate and plays the deep sea blues as good as any great, as good as any great. Sometimes when the wind is just right, the daughter sings a love song like a dirge, and pennies from heaven fall.
So you have 7 minutes.
Okay,
Take longer if you need it.
okay, thank you. Thank you, David. This is when I time it, this is just about 7 minutes. I do need to give a little bit of an intro, but I appreciate that. If I go over a couple of minutes, you're not gonna be too mad. Um, okay, so this does require a little bit of an intro. Um, I'm not sure if anyone is online that is in this book, but uh, it's probably I don't know if you can see it, but uh, Silence is Consent is an anthology that was put out by a retired librarian. He started the project about a year ago, maybe. Well, less than a year ago, after Trump got elected for the second time. So less, he put out 6 months ago. He started the project, and I have one poem in here. But I got the book, the anthology, and I read it. I read a few of the people that I know they're in here, and I thought these are great poems. And I read a few more, and like this is great stuff. And I got the idea to kind of like do a found poem. My first idea was think, oh, maybe I'll take the first line from every poem and put it together as a found poem and see what happens. I read more and I wound up reading this anthology probably 3 or 4 times, and I decided to write a cento, which I learned recently is I started the project before I knew what cento meant, but cento is, I guess, a poetic form meaning patchwork in Italian. So this is cento against the Trump regime, and I'll read my epigraph um, in detail, but basically, I saw themes, and what I wanted to capture was this whole uh, anti-Trump regime message that was in the anthology. Um, and every line, every phrase, every word is from one of the poets in the anthology. There's 83 poets. So I used one line or phrase or word from everybody in the anthology. So my author's note is in this cento, I sought to create a poem that captured the spirit, the angst, the anger, the compassion, and the humor and hope within the anthology as a whole. At least one line or phrase or single word was used from each of the 83 poets. I hope the individual authors are happy with the result. And I did send it to the editor, and he's sharing it with people. The editor said, Dan O, this is very ingenious. So I hope you like it. And the print version, I've submitted it a few times, but the print version has an identification of the page number, which I'm going to leave out. Um, but I think I'm going to enjoy reading it. I hope you enjoy hearing it. Cento Against the Trump Regime from Silence is Consent. Future generations will look. Aliens come from other worlds. They brand us felons, and the mob demands America, endless, monstrous. Where in my heart can I find refuge now since hate has gripped the world? A U.S. flag upside down, a signal of distress. The American people tossed and crushed by the orange wave. The orange fecal monster is back. Progress reversed with the stroke of an idiot's pen. Coup to reinstate an orange plague. Dudes vote for the penis amendment. End democracy. Death comes to me. Oh, the ramparts. Some could see the red glare of looming bigotry. Therefore, power to the people. If we don't ask for, no, demand it, tariffs, tariffs, tariffs. A blazing stateroom of clapping blondes. They stop a car. We watch as mute spectators before a uniformed figure begins the nightstick beating with police batons. Billy clubs smash windows, bruise eyes, break bones. There is always work to be done in the rubble. Watching black smoke billow from the high rise, black poems pour from the air everywhere. Freedom has left the building. Reporters deem the crowd stunned. Nightmares of the news at 9, more at 11. Here comes my favorite part. And this part of the poem I call the cathartic invective. And you'll see every invective against Trump is from the book. Nightmare of the news at 9, more at 11. Others found ways to keep what they wanted, as awful, awful humans will, beneath a banner of fiscal necessity, shielding his own interests. While the wannabe dictator, greedy for power, the grand grifter, the bumptious bloviating bully, dressed in an orange diaper, loose-lipped TV show president, devil racist rapist, white supremacist, sinful sadistic manager, malignant narcissistic personality, tyrant, reckless bully, orange Agent Orange, mendacious president, orange Orc, the leader who they are certain will make everything right, portly orange king filled with waste, a novice, infected pustule, clown, deadly clown, clown leader, clown ringleader, embarrassment of the world, the unmentionable, he who shall not be named, the emperor of naked lies, faux leader, false messiah, fork-tongued snake oil salesman, stubborn turd, crack in the Liberty Bell, dung flung at the Statue of Liberty, does whatever the fuck he wants. He doesn't give a shit. Morning news. Market crashed. A woman in South Africa who will die. Test center closed. No money for school lunches. Powers evict a pregnant woman. Billionaire feeding frenzy. Canceled vaccines. Pardons cascade upon citizen villains. Fallacies compressed over feces. Undocumented fears. Homes bombed overnight. Looming men so alike in cruelty, and Orange stops being one. Silence, a new dark age. Now, with dishes to wash, bills to pay, think of Star Trek and Deep Space Nine. Anything to distract me from dwelling on his evil eunuchs and his minions masturbating to kitty porn, poised to keep inventory low and millions in their pockets. Angry men, spiders, snakes. Where in my heart can I find refuge now, since hate has gripped the world? We live in a time of upheaval. Our nation is a mess. We need a transfusion. He won. The orange fecal monster won. 53% didn't even vote. The wax and wane of powers. Massive demonstrations. You can be sure the next time I saw him, I'd punch him in the mouth. I wouldn't try to get along. Last night, my right hand went out to kill somebody. Where in my heart can I find refuge now, since hate, fixing me in its crosshairs, has gripped the world? Still, the heart floats, whispering its truth, trembling, refusing erasure. Let poetry cleanse the literature of the illiterate. Let poetry cure its readers of their rage. On January 6th, 2026, a spacecraft landed on the White House lawn. The Donald sat in a corner labeled "Go to Jail." Trump ceased to be president. Future generations will look. Aliens come from other worlds. Who were they, these aliens we so feared? We are beautiful, alive. Thank you for listening.
Mute, ladies and gentlemen, and let him see and hear.
Yeah.
Yay,
Thank
thank
That
you.
was great. Thank you. Beautiful work.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
you.
Thank you.
Wow.
Great.